Here's the deal. Sales isn't about pushing harder, talking faster, or flooding inboxes. That's noise, not strategy. Real business development? It's about presence, precision, and knowing exactly how the room feels before you open your mouth. Jake Stahl, author of Own the Room, How to Communicate to Be Seen, Heard, and Respected, has spent over 30 years training teams across 6 countries and 47 states, teaching solopreneurs how to turn conversations into conversion. Known as the mind mechanic, people who have been trained by him say he has the uncanny ability to break down human behavior and rebuild it into real, repeatable influence. This is where communication becomes your unfair advantage. Welcome to Own the Room with Jake Stahl.
Jake, we're really lucky here at Own the Room that we get a lot of positive messages from the audience. And
sure.
It's really nice when you check in, whether it be email or DM one of us up on LinkedIn and say, I love what you're doing on Own the Room. It's helped me with my business development, with my neuro strategy. We get a lot of positive reaction for Strata and your new book, Own the Room. I know it's gotten a ton of good reaction, a bunch of reviews up on Amazon too. But some of these messages, Jake, woo.
Did it go into our hate mail folder?
We need to create one. That's what's happening here.
Excellent.
No, you were talking with David Newman not long ago. What did he say? You're not nobody until somebody hates your guts.
That's right. And it sounds like I'm getting some haters, so I must be a somebody. Woohoo!
It's the next step in life.
Right.
Now, I don't want to judge too hard because, Mike, you're not necessarily a hater. I mean, you check out the program. You don't clearly have anything personally against Jake here. But Mike is not crazy about your hatred of sales scripts, Jake.
Oh, one of my favorite topics. What's he got to say?
He says, Jake, listen, I've used sales scripts my whole life. They get results. People hate all this own your voice stuff, but when you're closing deals, scripts are your best friend. He says, I get that some think that scripts are fake, but they keep you sharp, consistent, and confident. Why do you hate them so much? Are you just secretly jealous that scripts get results?
Oh, you caught me, Mike. You pulled back the curtain. Is my jealousy that obvious?
To Mike, it is.
Mike, thank you for your comment. And let me tell you why you're just wrong. So let's start with the fact of where I do like a sales script. All right. Because there is a small sliver of where I do like them. When a person is just starting in a job and they're getting their groove and they're getting their feeling and they just need to get some verbiage down to get on the phone and start to feel comfortable, a sales script is your best friend. It gives you a solid foundation, a path to walk, and I agree. Sales scripts are great. If you use it more than the first couple of weeks, though, it has turned from a path to a crutch. So, Mike, let's talk this out. And since you're not here to talk, I'll do all the talking. So, first of all, sales scripts do not represent a population. They represent an amalgam of behavioral triggers, hook points, getting yeses to make another yes, getting them to say no, to get them to say yes. This will work in about 10 to 20% of the population. So, Mike, I'm going to go ahead and guess that your close rate is somewhere between 10 and 20%. John, does it say in the email what he sells or what industry he's in?
He does not say that. And he doesn't conveniently also put in his close rate either.
Okay, yeah, most people with sales scripts don't. Okay, so I'm going to gamble it's a 10 or 20% close rate. Second thing I'm going to say is sales scripts do not follow reality. In other words, we do not use the same talk track for everybody we talk to during the day. So when I talk to my parents, or I talk to my wife, or I talk to my kids, I do not use the exact same verbiage. And there's a reason for that.
That's good.
Right?
I can imagine if you came on here and you talked to me like you talked to your wife. Like, no, thank you.
Right. Yeah. That would make for a very uncomfortable show.
Yeah.
So the reason we don't do that, Mike, is because everybody is individual. I have to treat them based on their goals and their needs and their pain points. And the variations of that are staggering because buried underneath the pain point is another pain point. And under that one is a trigger that caused the pain point.
Yep.
There are no number of scripts you could have in a book that's going to cover all of that. Now, Mike, if you like sales scripts because it's safe for you and it gives you something to do all through the day that's consistent and you're okay with playing a numbers game, stick with the scripts. You're among a very large population of people that do that. But I will tell you that, Mike, I am betting you are really intelligent. I am betting you're intuitive, and I'm betting that if somebody called you at dinner time, a salesperson on the phone, and they were using a script, Mike, I'll bet you could point that out. I'll bet you could listen to them and go, boy, that just doesn't sound natural.
Mm-hmm.
Are you reading off a script?
Mm.
So keep in mind that although it may sound natural to you and it may be a safety net to you, it only applies to 10 to 20% of the population, which is why your close rate is probably around there. It is not individualized at all. It has nothing to do with authenticity. And despite the fact that you feel as though you may perform it well, the 80% of the people you don't close feel that you don't perform it well.
Mm. You mean it's not individualized, like when you insert their names into the little blanks, that doesn't count?
No, as a
I
matter of fact, it does
Jake.
not. And listen, again, I'm okay with it if you're just starting off, but please do not call yourself a salesperson if you are reading off a script all the time. That's not selling. That's casting yourself in a role and hoping that it appeals to the audience. So, Mike, I appreciate your opinion. I want you to appreciate the fact that it's wrong. And I also want you to appreciate the fact that if you step away from the sales script and understand human dynamics, your close rate is going to double.
Woo!
How's that?
Boy. The only pushback I have, because I hear Mike when he says this, and this is always the argument that you get in favor of sales scripts. I feel like you're talking about consistency and confidence. That's what Mike said, those two words. He's consistent, he's confident. So at least sales scripts keep things consistent. It doesn't matter how you're feeling that day, you're going to say the same thing. And then for him, it's confidence. Can you argue with that confidence that he feels when he uses the scripts?
Okay, so let me address both those one by one. Consistency of poor messaging is still consistency, right? So if you're consistent with a message that doesn't hit home for most people, consistency is actually a liability. It's not an advantage. So I hear the fact that you may be consistent with what you're pushing out about your product, but if you're consistently hitting a 10 to 20% close rate, is that really a hill you want to die on, is consistency? Second of all, confidence is stepping away from a script, not living inside one. All right. So when we look at having a script, there's confidence in that you know what you're going to say each time you pick up the phone. But if you were really confident about your product and your message, once you got that script down and once you learned the product and the flow and the dynamics of a call, true confidence is setting that aside and going, I can be authentic each and every time I'm on the phone. I can customize a message to that customer and I can close a higher rate. That's confidence.
I see what you're saying, actually. That makes some sense. I don't know, Mike. You tell us how you feel about that, because Jake makes some good points. And to me, I don't know if you feel this way, Jake, but it sounds like Mike is in his comfort zone and just doesn't want to step out.
Yeah. And Mike, listen, that's okay. I'm not criticizing that. If that's the zone you want to be in, that's fantastic. but please don't put sales scripts as anything other than a crutch you need to put away at some point. That would be all I would say about that.
And then addressing Mike's final concern about your secret jealousy, Jake.
Yeah. Yep.
What's going on there?
Yeah. So listen, I can appreciate your opinion and I firmly respect your opinion. And I will say unequivocally that I am jealous of nothing in the way of sales scripts.
That sounds like a jealous man right there.
Yes, sir. That is me, the green eyed monster.
Are you ready for another one, Jake?
I'm ready for another one. And Mike, thank you for writing in. I do appreciate pushback.
All right. Well, then that wasn't too much for you. I'm glad. James is having a hard time getting clients. Boy, this is right up your alley, Jake. Having a hard
Poor
time
guy.
getting clients. That's what
Yeah.
people bring you in for. He says everybody's talking about building an intentional network, but I don't have time for it. Bills are stacking up. I needed clients yesterday. Any ideas on some real things I can do to bring business in fast? I'm tired of hearing you say that slow and steady wins the race. I'm talking right now. James, thanks for chiming in. Jake, how do we get James some business now? He's got no time to wait.
James, I hear you. This is a long game and it sucks. This is why everybody hates the business development piece of being in their own business. And that's the luxury of working with a corporation, right? Their marketing department and their sales team helps generate that business so that you have something to do. So, first of all, let me say that being in your own business is not for the faint of heart.
Mhm.
Everybody who listens to this podcast has suffered through those days, myself included. But James, I will also say the flip side of that coin is you want to get quality people. The illusion of numbers, like you put in a marketing automation with some crappy AI message that goes out to 10,000 people and it brings you in 5. That is people, but it's not quality people. If you want the quality people, intentionality is important. And if you need business today, then there's nothing better you can do than to start today. We talk about getting the 5 people that are just as concerned about your success as you are. James, pick your 5. Pick 5 people you know that want you to succeed and are willing to help. Tap into those 5 today. Have them introduce you to 2 people. Doesn't have to be a prospect. Doesn't have to be somebody who definitely wants your business. It can just be somebody who can connect you to someone else. So when you start doing that, James, in your first week, you should have 10 people you can talk to. In your second week, that goes up exponentially because each of those 10, you're going to ask for 2 people to talk to from then. So week 2 is 20 people. So, James, it goes not only to the number of people, but what's your value proposition look like? And here's my advice with your value prop and your offer. Call a friend, say, this is what I offer, and tell them to be honest and hit you with any questions. Because, James, if I'm being honest, I hear value propositions all day from my clients, and it's rare that one just absolutely hammers me and sticks with me. Develop one that's drop dead. So each of those 10 and then 20 people you're talking to hears very clearly what you do and how you do it. So, James, I understand the bills stack up, but adding more bills by doing marketing automation and adding more stress by getting AI to write this bland message that everybody knows is AI is not the way to go. Start now, start today. And by the end of the week, you could have 3 to 6 phone calls lined up already. That's progress.
There's no shortcut to success. However, it doesn't always take as long as you might think.
Yeah. Yep.
It's just for poor James here. He's very concerned about, bills and things. I don't think that's a good position to be in as a business owner, right? Like,
Yeah.
have you been there too?
Oh my God. In the beginning, I funded myself with credit cards until I got to the point where I was self-sustaining. So yeah, I've been there.
And then I don't know, like, do you recommend, I hate to do this, but do you recommend he gets a side job or something just to hold him over? I feel like that might be a decent strategy at this point.
You know what? A decent strategy it is. And if you want to get a side job to substantiate and to bolster your bank account until your side gig gets up and running, it's a great idea. But if you can put your nose to the grindstone full time for the next even 5 days and generate those 5 people and then the 10 people that come after that, you will not regret it. But you need the value prop, you need your ICP, you need your offer and your elevator pitch. Have those ready. Because, James, honestly, what I see a lot is people skip right to getting the prospects
Hmm.
without spending the time to define exactly who they are and what they do.
Yeah, that would be my concern, though. You're talking about the 5 people who
Yep.
are as interested in your success as you are, right?
Yep.
Okay, so my mom's not gonna buy from me. She doesn't need the product that I offer. In my case, it's not like she's gonna start a podcast or produce content for herself. So why do you suggest talking to people who aren't even in your target market?
There's a little rule that I think everybody's heard once by the time they reach a certain age is that there's 6 degrees of separation.
Hmm,
So theoretically, you're 6 people away from anybody on the planet, right? If you plan that right. So if you remember when I said with that 5 people, I say it doesn't have to be prospects. It can be anybody that's concerned about your success because they're going to want to introduce you to the right people. John, your mom might know somebody in a bridge club, or if she goes out at night, or a friend that she talks to that is just starting a business, and podcasts might be a great idea. So
hmm.
don't ever discount anyone when it comes to this process. You never know who's going to lead you to somebody else. Tell you a great story. My brother, it was a house painter. He's retired, but he was a house painter. And my dad connected him with somebody who was a real pain in the ass. This person didn't want to pay real well. They hemmed and hawed about everything he did, and he hated it. He used to call me and say, Jake, I hate working for this person. But that person connected him with a country club that then turned out to be a long-term 15-year contract for my brother with steady work. So don't discount anyone and who they can connect you to.
Even Bridge Club. That one
Yeah,
surprised me. I wouldn't have thought there was any value there, but no, that's a good place for James to start. I think he's pushing back almost just out of frustration,
I can understand that.
which I get that. But
Yeah.
he's just saying that all of your strategies are long term. It doesn't feel like you have any short term strategies. Well, what you just said is a great short term strategy.
Yeah. And James, one of the hard parts about this is that there's no KPIs for this.
Hmm.
So I can't say, okay, I want the people I talk to talk to 5 people on my behalf. You'll never know. You will
True.
never know who they talk to. So the frustrating piece about this is it relies on faith. I have faith that they're going to reach out and make the connections that they said they will. I have faith they're going to connect me to good people. And faith is tough, especially when the bills come due.
Yes.
But
Yes.
James, I promise we've all been there and you'll get through it.
To me, it's always encouraging that it can be. I know you're so against the numbers game, but it can
Yeah,
be a little bit of a numbers game where you
sure.
don't have to rely on everybody to make connections for you. It's like you mentioned for your brother, it was one connection
Yeah.
that made such a big difference. So if you put down enough input and invest enough in connecting, you're not going to get the output from every single person, but it's going to work eventually.
And here's one other point, John, that came to mind because I used to hear this a lot. Is when you talk to those people, tell them you're actively looking for business.
Mm.
And the reason I say this is I can't tell you how many times I heard in the beginning, I didn't know you had open spots. I didn't
Oh,
know you were still taking on new clients.
yeah.
And I actually heard this in a networking call the other day. Somebody said to me, I know you're busy and probably don't have room for anybody new. I never said that. but that was the impression that they got. It turns out it's true,
I
but
was going to say, Jake, I think don't
it is
overload
true,
yourself.
but that could be your downfall. If you get
Right.
5 people that want to refer you and they all think that you're busy and you don't have any room, you might as well not have those people. So, James, tell them you're looking for work, you have openings in your client list, and you're looking to fill a couple of spots.
Is it okay to be honest like that?
Of course.
Because I think people get concerned about that, myself included, where it's like we're so worried about going too far the other way because sometimes people do come across as very desperate and I need work, give me work. But we're so afraid of looking like that that we don't even want to say, I'm available for work because that looks too desperate. Those open to work banners on LinkedIn, to some people, they look desperate.
Well, I think there's a way you can word it that sounds a little bit less than desperate. You could say, I have 1 or 2 more spots open on my client list. I'm looking to fill those spots. So if you want to give the illusion that you have people already and you want to say you only have 1 or 2 spots, I don't see a harm in that. But I
Sure.
definitely wouldn't say, listen, I've got nobody and I've never had anybody. You have to at least
Right.
sound like you are reliable and that you are looking to get clients. There's a fine line between authenticity and putting a different shine on something.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And that leads us to our last note that we've gotten this week
Okay.
from Alex. And Alex is not criticizing you in any way.
Okay.
Surprise, surprise. But Alex is
Thank you for that.
just he's just ready to be done. And we've all been in this dark place. And I want to
Yeah.
treat your message, Alex, with a lot of respect because I've been where you are and I'm really sorry you're going through this. He says, honestly, I'm ready to throw in the towel. I battle doubts daily. I don't have any clients. Some days it feels like I'm shouting into the void. He feels isolated. He says he feels beat down. He says he loves the concept. He fell in love with the concept of being a solopreneur, but it's kicking my ass. How do people keep going when it's that hard? And should I give up?
Yeah. And this is something, if a solopreneur or an entrepreneur tells you they never face this, they're just lying. Because
Mhm.
we've all felt this, especially post COVID, right? Where we're all sitting at home.
Yeah.
We talk to people on Zoom all day or on the phone, but we're still alone. So, John, there's actually a term for this. It's catastrophic time distortion under acute anxiety. I know that's
Whoa.
long, but our brain tends to do 3 very bizarre things. And this happens to everybody when your nervous system gets stuck in threat mode. So the first thing it does, it erases memory of ever feeling normal. So you literally can't access past moments where things were good, where I did have business and I wasn't struggling. So your brain kind of erases that for the time being. The second thing it does is it projects the current feeling forward. So your brain says, if this is happening now, it's going to keep happening. And we can all relate to this, like the last time we were sick and we thought, I'm never going to feel good again.
Yeah.
Ever. So it projects the current feeling forward. The last thing it does is it converts fear into certainty. So it takes the words, I'm afraid, and that quietly morphs into, this is inevitable. So we talked in a previous episode about if you can name it, you can tame it.
Yeah.
And that's just a piece of this. So my advice would be, first of all, look back at testimonials for work you've done. Even if it's at a corporate job before you became a solopreneur, look back at testimonials, tell your brain that there was a successful time and that you do good work. And if you have a social media channel and you get good reviews there, or you get a lot of friend requests, try to accumulate mini victories in your head to reassert to your brain that it's going to be okay.
Hmm.
The second is, remember that acute anxiety like this doesn't last. So very few times in our lives have we had something so acute like this last for years and years and years.
No, doesn't happen.
So the best thing I would say you do is create a list of things you want to do today. Stop interpreting your current results as failure. Don't use certainty statements like I'm a failure, this isn't going to work, this is forever. Stay away from those statements. Each day, create a to-do list of 5 to 10 things that will move your business forward and complete them. And that can be as simple as, today I'm going to balance my books. Today I'm going to send out 10 requests on LinkedIn. Today I'm going to write an email out to 5 people that I think would be warm leads. Today I'm going to set up 3 appointments. So make them things that'll move your business forward that you can easily accomplish, because your brain needs wins right now.
Yeah.
So it doesn't focus on all the catastrophizing that you're putting yourself through.
Now, it does sound like Alex is doing some of that because he says he feels like he's shouting into the void. So at least he's doing the shouting, but
True.
there's no real response. I've been there too, where it's like, is there something wrong with my email? You had a guest on the podcast one time who talked about he sent his friend a test email just to see if, just to make sure like that
Email
his
is
email
working.
worked, because he's like, wait a second, I'm sending out all these emails and I'm not getting anything. So I think we can all relate to Alex in that case. But that is the good news from his perspective, is that he does seem to be putting one foot in front of the other, doing some of these things that he needs to be doing, at least reaching out to people. But the problem is he's not getting anybody to respond. And boy, that can be demoralizing.
It certainly can. And we all know the name Howard Stern,
Yeah.
right? Everybody knows that name.
Very
Howard
familiar.
relates back a story where he was doing a radio show in his early days. And he said, one day I was just tired of getting no responses. Nobody would call in, nobody would give feedback. And he said, I just started screaming, night is day, cats and dogs sleep with each other. And he started throwing out stuff just to see if he'd get a response, because he had gotten to the point where he was on a radio show and getting no feedback or responses of any kind. So even constant yelling into the void, he got to a breaking point. So I know this doesn't help. Sometimes it helps to know that you're not the only one going through this or who has gone through it.
Yeah.
But keep shouting into the void. And I'm going to give you the same advice I gave James. Make sure your value proposition, your offer, your elevator pitch is dead on. So when
Yeah.
you do talk to somebody, you maximize every second of your time with them.
Yes.
And listen, if you want to step back and get a corporate job and do this as a side gig for a while, there's no shame in that.
Mm-mm.
Don't beat yourself up and call yourself a failure. Sometimes you need to step back and regroup and then charge the hill again.
This solopreneur journey is not for the faint of heart. And your determination of success isn't always what the world thinks of as success, right? I mean, sometimes just showing up is success as a solopreneur.
It's funny you say that, John. That's such an excellent point. Is oftentimes we don't define success for ourselves. So at what point do I get to say I'm successful, and what does that look like? Because if we just define success as success, we never get there. It's a finish line that's constantly moving just a step or two quicker than you are.
Yeah.
And that's a source of frustration. So if you can say today will be a success if I do A, B, and C, and you make them attainable goals, you start to reprogram your brain that today was a success. Since today was a success, tomorrow should be as well. And you can start to take that path forward. But I'm also going to give the bad news side of this. No matter how good you do, you're going to have times like this.
Oh, absolutely.
Period. So it doesn't ever go away. Our ability to cope with it just changes.
But that's encouraging, because you know that even the most successful solopreneurs in the world have had times like these. So who's to say that's not you too? Which sounds cheesy, but it's true. And for Alex, I would also just encourage you, process related goals, not always result related goals, right? You're saying that you're doing all of these things, but also indicating that you're a failure. If you're doing all these things, to me it sounds like you're doing the right thing and that you're not a failure. You're successful. Failure would be I've given up and I've done nothing right and I'm expecting business to fall into my lap. Success can still come in challenges. Success
Yeah,
can still be I'm doing all the right things, but other people, these external forces aren't working in my favor. So, I mean, defining success is hard, Jake, isn't it? How do you
it is.
define that process versus results?
Uh, Everybody has their own individual definition. Certainly don't listen to my version of success. You have to determine your own. But I forget who said it, but I think somebody said 90% of success is just showing up.
Oh yeah, isn't that true?
And that might have been me because I come up with millions of good quotes that are adopted all over the world all the time. So that could have been me.
That
But
start with
yes,
you? I've heard that everywhere.
90% of success is just showing up. My version of success, John, is at the end of my life, if people look at me and say he was honest, ethical, and left the place just a little better than it was before, that to me is success. Success to me isn't tied to money, but it may be for some people.
Mhm. Yeah, and that's okay. Be honest with yourself.
Yeah.
And Jake, I think I would also think one version of your success is getting hate mail like this.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
apparently I'm
it's
somebody now.
thank you, David Newman. Alex, of course, thank you, and in all respect to your message, I know you're not hating or anything, but he is saying that he's going through a challenging time. So we're with you, Alex. Let us know if there's anything that we can do to support you. You, Mike and James, boy, they had a lot to say, but I'm impressed with how much grace that you approached their questions, Jake, because you put yourself in their shoes and you didn't just say screw you. I disagree with you. You're wrong. You did tell them they're wrong,
Yeah,
but
they are wrong.
we'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, listen, I respect everybody's opinion. And as much as people like to be aggressive in email, just forgive me if I'm a little aggressive back because I think we both come from very strong belief centers. And that's good. That's what makes us all different. And that's the way we improve.
You can hit Jake up on LinkedIn. You can hit me up on LinkedIn. Connect with us and send your, whether it be positive or negative mail. We love to read them both. And Jake may just address it on the next edition of Own the Room AMA, which will be in just a couple of weeks here.
John, this was a great show. I love doing these responses to mails.
Well, thanks for doing it, Jake. I love your insight and feedback on these.
Thanks for checking out Own the Room with Jake Stahl. If you've gotten value from this episode, share it with the solopreneur in your life who wants to know how to communicate to be seen, heard, and respected. Review and rate the show wherever you check out podcasts. And grab your copy of Own the Room, How to Communicate to be Seen, Heard, and Respected. We'll catch you next week on Own the Room.